Hey, this is Off the Cuff, and I'm Steve from TorahFamily.org. Today we want to talk about the King of the North. Now, this has been a topic that as many have discussed for a long time. Lots of good thoughts and theories that are out there. But what I want to give you today are some thoughts that some friends and I have been discussing for a while. And as we've been discussing them, we're going, man, is it really this simple? Have we missed this? And we're not saying we're right in any stretch of the imagination. However, we're thinking just maybe some of these thoughts and theories that have been out there up to this point, maybe we're missing something, and maybe this may be a link to connect some more dots for us here in the future, or I don't know. We'll have to let you be the judge of that. Okay. So what I want to give you here is, again, many have discussed the King of the North and the South, and this is all mentioned in Daniel chapter 10 and chapter 11. And again, lots of good things that have been out there, and I'm not here to say those are wrong. I'm here to say maybe this is some missing parts that may help us with those thoughts and theories that are out there. In Daniel's chapter 10 and 11, we read about these kings, okay? But yet when we come to Daniel 11:21, it's in this verse that I think most all would agree that this is discussing the anti-Messiah, the Antichrist, what many would call. And so, because in it, you have just like in the scriptures, you'll see where this king was succeeded by his son, then he did evil in the eyes of the Lord for so many years, or whatever it is. And it's kind of a same principle here. Verse 21, you see where another guy comes in, okay? So let's read that verse, Daniel 11:21. It says, "He will be succeeded by a contemptible person who has not been given the honor of royalty. He will invade the kingdom when its people feel secure, and he will seize it through intrigue." Again, lots of good thoughts and theories on who this individual is. And I'm not here to say that any of those thoughts or theories are wrong. I just want to give something else that we all need to consider, I think anyway. Some will say this King of the North, that, he's someone from Russia, or someone else will say, well, that's from Turkey. Someone else will say, well, they're from Syria, and especially the one from Syria, because that's got a good support verse, if you will, found in Isaiah. And it says, "I will crush the Assyrian in my land. On my mountains I will trample him down. His yoke will be taken from my people, and his burden removed from their shoulders." So those who would want to lean to the Assyrian, him being an Assyrian, I can say, yeah, I can see that for sure, especially with that verse being there. Not to say that the other parts are wrong. However, I do confess that I do struggle with the element of him being from Russia. Okay, not saying it's wrong. I've yet to grab a hold of that understanding fully. But again, don't send me emails. I'm not saying you're wrong. Okay. So this all being said, maybe, just maybe, we've been missing something here. And maybe it's been so plain that that's why we've missed it. It's been so, like, it's been right there in front, it's like the old saying, "What if it was a snake, it would have bit me," because it's right there by you, type of a thing. So what if there's something regarding this King of the North that is so simple, it's been difficult? Okay. Now, that being said, I want to read a verse for us that we've all heard, we've all probably read who knows how many different times, but a verse that I think will apply to what we're looking at here, okay? Isaiah 46. "I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times what is still to come. I say my purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please." So it says here, from ancient times what is still to come. Now the question I have is, what were these ancient times like when Daniel was writing down that which was given to him? These were ancient times for us. I would consider the times of Daniel was ancient times. Okay. So what were these ancient times like that Daniel went through? It was the times when Israel was divided. Okay. Israel was divided what? North and south. Who better to understand that than Daniel himself? So the question is, when Daniel was hearing and seeing all this stuff that was being given to him, talking about a king of the north and a king of the south, wouldn't it make sense that him, coming from a kingdom that was divided north and south, that his mentality may have even been thinking, hey, is this talking about the northern and southern kingdom of Israel? All of the scriptures are all focused and centered around what? Israel. So is it possible that this is what is being discussed to Daniel? Not so much a king of the north from a different kingdom, if you will, but a king of the north that was actually part of the northern kingdom of Israel. I hope that makes sense. And again, I'm not saying this is right. Okay, I'm just wondering. All right. Now, so could it be that this was actually being discussed to Daniel, and Daniel, maybe even he was seeing it, okay, though we don't see him saying it clearly as such? Could that been how he was receiving it? And even more so, could that be what is being discussed here, the king of the north and the south of the one nation of Israel as a whole? Even though they weren't as a whole, they were divided. But the whole focus is these were the two kingdoms, the center of what Yahweh is concerned with, Israel itself. Okay. And so could it be that this was the case, as I guess is what I'm thinking of here? Now, think of it this way. For those who know American history, okay, American history back in the day was divided north and south. Now, if these same visions were given to an individual who lived in America, either north or south, either one of them, during that time, okay, and they're being told a king of the north and a king of the south, all of this being said at that time frame, would they not have understood it to be the king of the north and the king of the south, the northern and southern king of America? Okay, yes, they were divided. So I guess I'm just trying to make the point is, doesn't it make sense that it's at least plausible, at least possible, that this is the element that was being given to Daniel, and how Daniel would have perfectly understood it because of the north and southern kingdom of Israel? They're divided. So it would only make sense that this is what's being given and what's being talked about, Israel as a whole, but they're divided, the northern and southern kingdom. Okay, I hope and pray that makes sense. So all I'm asking is, could there be something that we've been missing up to this point, in trying to identify this king of the north? And maybe it's really not an individual of a northern kingdom that is north of Israel, of what we call Israel today, okay? Maybe it's an individual who represents the northern kingdom of Israel as a whole. I mean, remember, the northern kingdom, okay, they didn't come back to Israel, to the land of Israel, like Judah did. We know Judah, okay? They came back. Ezra and Nehemiah makes it very clear they came back to the land. But the northern kingdom, not all of them did. And we have the prophecy given in Genesis 48 that they will become the multitude of nations. They'll basically assimilate into the nations, okay? So that being said, is this that far off of a thought to believe that this king of the north could actually not be a king that is geographically north of Israel today, but more so a king of the north who represents all of those nations where the northern tribes assimilated to? And I realize that this can be completely, bogus, not right, whatever. And so please don't send me your negative emails on it. Don't need it. Just think about it. Is it possible? I don't think it's that far out of reason to consider this as at least something plausible for us to be open to. I really believe, and I believe this with all my heart, that when the end times do kick in gear, whenever it happens, I'm concerned that it's not going to be playing out, even start off, the way we all think, because remember, it's all about deception. And, we've all got our ideologies of how things are going to play out, and this is going to happen here, and that's going to happen then. But what if it doesn't? Okay, we're all looking for this one man over here, but what if it's a completely different scenario and it throws us off guard? Okay, I'm just praying that, let's be open. Let's consider these thoughts that others may have, and like I'm giving you today, that it might be something different. And this may have, I really believe it's at least plausible. It's got some bearing I believe, to consider with an open heart. So I'm asking you today to have an open heart regarding this king of the north, this one spoken in Daniel 11 here that we mentioned the verse earlier, that it may not be a king, a leader, okay, someone who is ruling a northern vicinity of Israel, but more so someone who represents the northern kingdom of Israel itself, the northern tribes, okay, who has assimilated into the nations. Again, think about it. I really think that's something we really need to be open to. Now, that being said, a friend of mine, we were talking, some friends of mine, we talk at least once a month on prophecy and stuff. And this guy, I love him to death, and I don't want to say his name. He brought this idea up. When he said it, my jaw just hit the floor. I'm going, like, are you kidding me? This is like, it's like it was so, oh my gosh, how in the world have we missed this? You know what I'm saying? And so I want to read it, and hope maybe you'll see it the way he had presented it to us that day. It's Revelation 13. It says, "And the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name." Now, verse 11. "Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon." Now, leaving these verses up, do you see it? Do you see, with what we discussed already regarding this northern king, okay, do you see it? The 10 tribes of the northern kingdom and the 2 tribes of the southern kingdom. Could this be them both represented by the horns, okay, and the crowns even here, okay? So the horns, could they be represented by the horns? Just speculation here. I realize this, okay? I realize this is speculation, but in reality, isn't all of this looking at prophecy? We're speculating. This makes sense with that. This makes sense with that. You know, so keep an open feel here. Is all I'm asking here, because I really think this is something that we need to be open to. And, you know, you can even look at, well, what about the 7 heads? It doesn't make any sense. Well, the 7 heads could be the 7 continents, okay, where the 10 tribes had spread all over, okay? Just a thought. So is that the case? I don't know, but it makes sense. And then you've got the 2 horns of the southern kingdom, okay, Judah and Benjamin, okay? And I don't know, to me, it makes sense. And I've never seen this before until my friend, he brought it up and we were talking, and I'm going, oh my gosh, how did we miss this? And maybe you guys have seen this all along and I've just been the only one missing it. I don't know. But it just seems to make sense to me. Remember, okay, Yeshua said, if a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And remember, I believe all the scriptures are focused on Israel and the land of Israel, okay? So wouldn't it only make sense that this is talking about Israel, okay? The 2 kingdoms, northern, southern kingdom, and how this is all playing a role with them, focused on them. So my question here is the enemy trying to unify Israel under his authority? Think about this, okay? Is the enemy trying to bring everything together under him? Not under Yahweh, of course, which is what Yahweh wants, of course, but he's trying to do the same thing Yahweh is doing, but it's all going to be false, fake. So while Yeshua is going to be bringing all of them together when he enters into covenant with them, okay, you'll need to see my teaching, Armageddon and the parousia for that understanding. But while Yeshua is doing that, it's like you've got a positive and a negative happening at the same time. You get the real and the false happening at the same time. So while Yeshua has all 12 tribes represented with him at Mount Sinai, okay, will the enemy be doing the exact same thing, trying to unify a false Israel? Okay, all tribes represented. The only thing that I would say would be the biggest struggle with him unifying is because we know that Judah itself will not be unified when he tries to pull the enemy, I'm talking, all of it together. Why? Because Yeshua said, when you see the abomination that causes desolation, flee. Okay, so many in Judah, they're going to recognize it. They're going to say, hey, ho, ho, this isn't right. Okay, and then they flee. So within that self, Judah is not unified. Okay, but you'll have a remnant there who will unify underneath the anti-Messiah. Okay, so now is that true? Is that going to happen anyway? I don't know. I can see it playing out that way. I mean, because to me, it seems simple to me that, many in Judah will recognize it. He says it in Mark that there will be many who will flee. I mean, because when you see this, get out of Dodge, basically. Okay. Yet I really believe that the second beast that's mentioned in Revelation, okay, the second one only had the 2 horns. I really believe this beast is who utilizes the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, they will utilize it for deception. I know many struggle with that. Please see my teaching simply titled The Image of the Beast. Okay, that teaching explains it out a lot. Okay, and remember, the end times, it's going to be all about deception. It's all going to be, people are going to think it's all coming together. It's all right there. And that's why I don't think things are going to play out the way many people are thinking. Okay. We just need to use caution. We need to be open. Don't think your thoughts are the right thoughts only. Be open to realize somebody else may have something right. Trust me, I know that every thought that I may have on all this, that it can be 100% wrong. And many of you might be thinking, yeah, you're right. You're all wrong. I don't understand that. Okay, that's fine. But all I'm asking is, none of us can be hardcore set, I'm right, everyone else is wrong. That in itself can bring deception upon ourselves. Let's not fall into that trap, okay? Let's be open. Remember, Yeshua said to all 7 churches, let him who has an ear hear what the Spirit says, okay? Let's be open to make it a point that our hearts are open to hearing what the Spirit says when it happens. Because when it happens, well, that's when we really need to be hearing for the Spirit, okay? So let's just make it a point that we're not dead set in our own biased opinions. And yeah, I think they're biased because we all think, no one wants to think they're wrong, okay? So let's be open to that fact. Let's start going against our own human nature and realizing that, hey, we could be wrong, okay? Let's try to be open to this kind of stuff. Now, am I saying, that, this is right? Of course not. I'm simply saying these are some interesting things that I believe we need to be open to. So the 10 horns, individual who represents the northern kingdom, okay? The 2 horns, an individual who represents the southern kingdom, okay? And I really believe they're going to utilize the Ark of the Covenant, okay? Now, maybe the Father will reveal something else to others out there regarding this. I'm not saying that, because chances are this can be really wrong, but it may spark some thoughts in some of you out there, and realizing that, hey, well, he's right, he's wrong here, but look at this, this, and this. And that's what this is all about, right? This is all about trying to come together and realizing that we're all learning and growing together here. Okay. Now, before I close out this teaching, there's one more thing I want to cover. There are many who believe that if you're in the Church of Philadelphia, that you will not be persecuted by the anti-Messiah. Okay. If you believe that, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. That's not the case. Yeah. Just because you're in the Church of Philadelphia does not mean you will not be persecuted or even martyred by the anti-Messiah. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wait a minute, Steve. Yeshua said that Philadelphia would not undergo the hour of trial that's coming on the whole world. And that's correct. I agree. 100% Yeshua did indeed say that the Church of Philadelphia would not undergo that hour of trial. But how do we know that the time of the anti-Messiah is the hour of trial? Now, I know right now you're probably thinking, Steve, that's so silly. How can you even say that? Well, let's wait a second here. Look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It tells us that our being gathered to Yeshua doesn't happen until after the anti-Messiah is revealed. Until after. Let's read it. It says right here, concerning the coming, which is parousia here. Please see our teaching on that. Of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him. We ask you, brothers, not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by some prophecy, report, or letter supposed to have come from us, saying that the day of the Lord has already come. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. So we see right here in this verse that we're not gathered. Okay, Yeshua doesn't come and gather us at the parousia. Okay, he doesn't gather us until after this man of lawlessness is revealed. The man who I believe will be one who will be representing quite possibly the northern tribes, the one with the 10 horns, okay? And then he gets the other guy with the 2 horns, who is the 2 horns represented in Revelation, okay? They come together to unify. So he says, Yeshua, it's telling us that Yeshua will not be gathering us until after this guy is revealed. Now, I know someone can say, well, yeah, but, he can be revealed, then we're taking the next split second. Okay, maybe. Okay, but here's the problem I have. It seems to me that we're going to be going through trials and tribulation, and there's a reason for this. Okay, this is not my notes. Remember that the Church of Philadelphia is not just those who are alive today, okay? The Church of Philadelphia is going to be filled with people, okay, who are resurrected as well. So not just believers who were faithful today, okay, but resurrected believers who were faithful in their time throughout history as well. So I really believe that this is going to be people who were in that church throughout all of history. Let's read regarding Philadelphia real quick. Revelation chapter 3. Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come upon the whole world, to test those who live on the earth. So, what is this hour being spoken of here? Quite frankly, I believe this is the earthquake of Isaiah 24 and the 6th seal of Revelation. This is the event that happens the split second after Yeshua takes those of Philadelphia, the bride. And remember, when we look at the 6th seal, okay, the 6th seal says all this is going to happen, the moon's going to turn red, and great earthquake, okay? But when you go to chapter 7, it then says, wait a second, guys, don't do anything yet. We first got to seal, okay, the 144,000. And then, so what's that mean? Those who are back at the 6th seal, they're put on pause. Before they do all of that, it's put on pause. Then they seal. Then everything happens. So again, I really believe this is how it's going to play out. We see the Anti-Messiah is going to be revealed, and he will pursue all believers, okay? And it will be up to us to hold true to our calling in Yeshua. Will it be hard? Yeah, I have to believe so, okay? But we can do this. We be faithful. We are to be faithful to him at all times. Then, when he comes, we're taken up. Whether we have been martyred or we're still alive, we are taken up if you're in that Church of Philadelphia. Now, if you follow any of my teachings from the past, mainly if you talk about the Noah, as in the days of Noah teaching, stuff like that, which I brought it forth, I really believe that, to me anyway, the scriptures seem to imply that I really believe the resurrection is going to take place on a second first fruits, okay, just like it did with Noah, okay, and if that sounds strange to you, please see our teaching as in the days of Noah. And I really believe that this Anti-Messiah, it's very possible that he will be revealed on not Passover, but the first fruits of the first Passover first fruits, if you will. And I really believe that this is where we're going to see times start getting hard, especially after the possibly after that of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Once Feast of Unleavened Bread is done, I believe things will kick in gear all the more at that time. And that's when things may get hard on whatever season. And this is in the case of if it all happens at this time frame, at the time frame of first Passover and stuff. Because if you've watched my teachings, I try to do my best in showing how all of the feast days are regarding appointed times, obviously. But I try to show how each of them can be pictured as that's when things would start. And this is giving you the understanding of that things will be starting. If things start in the spring, this is how it would play out. Meaning, the anti-Messiah would rise to power or be revealed for who he is, okay? Sometime between the first Passover and first fruits, and especially by that of the end of Feast of Unleavened Bread. And during that time, the next 4 weeks would be when he truly starts pursuing Yahweh's people, okay, those who pursue the covenant especially. And then Yeshua comes for his bride at first fruits, second first fruits, just like we saw with Noah, okay? And again, please see that teaching to make that understand a little better for you. But remember, this shows, if this is correct, like I really think it is, and I agree it could be wrong, okay? But I really believe that this shows that all believers will undergo the time of the anti-Messiah. I'm talking persecution, not just seeing him, will undergo persecution for at least 1 month. If he is truly revealed at the time of the first Passover through unleavened bread, okay, first fruits, unleavened bread. So at least 1 month for all believers. All believers will be persecuted for the bare minimum under the anti-Messiah for 1 month. Now, think of this. Look at Mark 13. You must be on your guard. You will be handed over to local councils and flogged in the synagogues. On account of me, you will stand before governors and kings as witnesses to them. And the gospel must first be preached to all nations. Whenever you are arrested and brought to trial, do not worry beforehand about what to say. Just say whatever is given you at that time, for it is not you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. Brother will betray brother to death, and the father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. All men will hate you because of me, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. We must remember that the Church of Philadelphia does not consist of only believers today. Okay, it will be consisting of people who have been throughout past, the Church of Philadelphia throughout the past, because why? They're resurrected, okay? So it will be of all those who are in the Church of Philadelphia throughout all history. They will be raised for the first resurrection. Consider this. There will be weeping there and gnashing of teeth when you see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the prophets in the kingdom of God, but you yourselves thrown out. People will come from east and west and north and south and will take their place at the feast in the kingdom of God. Now look here. Verse 29 is key. It says, these people will come from the east, west, north, and south and will take their places at the feast. What feast? It's the marriage supper of the Lamb. This is what's being spoken of. And look who's there. It says Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the people who are resurrected and will take place at the feast, the marriage supper of the Lamb. So again, just because you may be in the Church of Philadelphia, and quite frankly, I don't think any of us know who's in the Church of Philadelphia. We can only hope and pray, pray that we're in that church, okay? But we don't know, okay? However, just because someone may be in it, you are not guaranteed escape from the anti-Messiah. Look at all the believers who are hardcore to the truth all the way through their life. Many of them suffered harsh persecution, deaths, you name it. Who are we to say we're better than them? Who are we to escape that? Okay. I just don't see that happening. I believe we will all be put to the test. Okay. I'm not looking forward to it, and I can only hope and pray, like I said, that we're in that church, okay? But my point is, just because you may be in that church, it does not mean you will not be persecuted by the anti-Messiah. You will not undergo, an escape. You may have to suffer. You may have to suffer martyrdom. And if you do, and you're in that church, you're going to be resurrected. When he comes, at that second first fruits, you will be resurrected. Okay, and again, that's an assumption. He comes on second first fruits, but I really see that parallel. Remember, it's cyclical. everything Yahweh does is cyclical. And I can't remember if I made this point in a teaching before, but I think it's cool when you look at that with Noah. Well, what did he do? He brought all the animals into the ark. Well, if you look at Hosea, okay, it talks about that he will confirm a covenant, okay, with all the wild beasts, okay. Well, who are the wild beasts? We know that with the vision that Peter saw, about the wild animals, okay, the animals. He was talking about the Gentiles. So when he says he's going to make a covenant with the wild animals, is what? The Gentiles. All of the northern kingdom who have been assimilated, and just those who have not, okay, just Gentiles as well, those who have come in, okay, he will make a covenant with them, which is what? The new covenant. Well, look how that parallels with Noah. He brought all the animals in the ark. Yeshua said, as it was in the days of Noah. Yes, I know it's talking about just people not knowing the timing, but look at the parallel still. He parallels just how Noah brought all the animals in. What's Yeshua going to do? He's bringing all the animals, the Gentiles, in the covenant again. I think it's cool. I just think it's cool seeing that. Well, just think about this. I'm not saying that it's right, but I am saying we need to be open. So if you think you're in the Church of Philadelphia, which we should be praying for that, please don't think you're going to get, a free pass and escape and, go straight to the kingdom type thing, It doesn't happen that way. I don't think that is going to be the case at all. So these three things in review, quick review. The king of the north. It may not be a king of a northern vicinity. It might be still. Okay, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I really see it being plausible as it being a king who represents the northern tribes, the northern kingdom of Israel. Plausible. That's all I'm asking of you to do is just to consider that. And then also regarding the two beasts mentioned in Revelation 13. One had the 10 horns, one had the 2 horns. Again, representing who? The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom coming together. So it's the anti-Messiah bringing a unity, a false unity of a false Israel. And that would be taking place in the land of Israel while Yeshua has all of his bride, representing the 12 tribes. That's when he brings the 2 sticks together under his rule at Mount Sinai, He brings them all together. That will be that's when that takes place. So while the anti-Messiah has his thing going on, Yeshua's got his thing going on. And so it's the ultimate good versus bad all happening at the same time. It's just, anyway, that's how I see it. Okay. And then, of course, like I said, the last part. Just because one may be in the Church of Philadelphia does not mean you are not going to suffer persecution or even martyrdom. Okay, please don't think that's the case. We will suffer, all. We will have to go through hard times. And I think we really need to keep that in mind. And there, one more verse. I don't have this in my notes, so I'm just going to throw the slide up there. But think of it this way. I know a lot of people are struggling with the part of the possibility that I presented with the tribulation only lasting 6 months. Excuse me. Here's the thing. Yeshua makes a statement, He says that when you are being persecuted, and you're to flee, He said, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man returns. That's a loose paraphrase. I don't have that in front of me, but I got it on the screen now for you. But while I'm recording, I don't have it in front of me. Now, here's the thing. Do you really think someone who is going to be fleeing the Antichrist, the Anti-Messiah, during the times of the tribulation, do you think they will be able to go through all of the cities of Israel for 3.5 years and not be caught? 3.5 years. However, what if it is just 6 months? And then we know the first week or two, he won't be necessarily attacking at that time. It'll be somewhere within that first month. That's when he starts attacking. He starts pursuing them. So let's just say 5.5 months. Doesn't it make it sense, to me anyway it does, but doesn't it make sense that someone could flee, at least 1 or 2 people can escape for 5.5 months through all the cities of Israel and not be caught? Far more easier, 5.5 months than 3.5 years. And again, that's a side note. What do you plan on putting that in here? But please don't write that theory off. I don't think it's that far removed from possibility. And you'll need to read the Cut Short article, which needs to be updated. A few things that I want to touch up on there, but still you'll get the general gist of it. Okay, so, well, I covered a lot here. So think about it. Pray about it. But more than anything, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Until next time, shalom.